Ebusuafo na etie ani di kwan so me pa cho me ma obi bia akwaba eba channel so hanum daily update TV. Ebusua me pa cho breaking news. NIB the National Intelligence Bureau akọ effect an arrest. Akọ arrest Bawumia na down for papa vice president, former vice president Dr. Bawumia na down for power oni ni di agroye bibia. Your friend Mohammed Zaku. Me pacho and then that screen so I stand to be corrected to of getting the name correctly pronounced. Intine seminar name no wrongly pronounced that mo fanche me better no that screen so now your friend Mohammed Zaku. So far ne charges ne say or no ne pie ba bonten be ka say yeah, I mean her excellency the vice president Naana Opoku Akanchinego. Yeni maybe okonya asa information if free or buy an obe posting na so say the vice president of the Republic of Ghana her excellency Naana Opoku Akanchinego were free. Teba sano it was obia kan a trendy pa na no na NIB before omo ye omo nyuma kakra fi no mahwehwe mu akohu source ne bebia na free ba no ana wo makọ arresting ni pay omo say brand be chiro mo na wo say the vice president no her excellency Naana Opoku Agyemang professor wewu na kwambe so nti no wo makọ arrest ni pay no that screen so na ebusia nkomo fufuro bi so akoso ewo TV3 key points so mema mekasa nyetintin yebekọ na yakoti san nkomo no so utim hu say nkomo no so edit pa nyakopon hira na onyo kese ebedi nkomo akiri stay tuned for more updates me da say
my colleagues in the studio and your wider audiences to know that this appears to be an April Fool's saga. Now, the Honorable MP, ranking member, Defense and Security portfolio, is not an ordinary person on the street. If there is a threat, a credible threat, to the security of this country, I don't expect anybody of his caliber and stature to go to the media and inform them. The first elements that you want to get in touch with are the security structures of the state, the whole plethora of them, including that portfolio committee of parliament. Be that as it may, you've gone public. We know that the Reverend Intim Forjo does not work at the Kotoka International Airport. So somebody would have informed him about the goings on. Now I'm asking him today through this portal, who informed him? Was it one of the workers at the airport company? Was it one of the security elements, DNI or NIB or whoever? Or was it an external agent, maybe a member of the, what do you call them, the diplomatic community? Who gave him that information? Although he doesn't need to tell us a source, he needs to now give us better particulars about that intelligence. And so far he's been hedging. Indeed, on several instances, he's attempted to suggest that the state must come and brief him as a member of the portfolio committee. Where is the intelligence? What exactly was he told? Because when aircraft land, they fly throughout airspace. When they land, some persons and some goods may leave the aircraft or may go onto the aircraft. This activity or these activities per se do not mean that some money is being laundered or some drug is being trafficked. So far, the honorable member of parliament has failed. And I'm suggesting that it was an April Fool's attempt, which has gone bonkers. And I think if in the long run, it turns out that there was no intelligence, indeed he has backtracked from the use of intelligence, Now he has suggested that there were suspicions. And I'm saying that if this is the caliber of people who govern Ghana, then we are doomed. Because you don't eat a benkwa and go to bed and dream and wake up and tell Ghanaians that you have intelligence that some drugs have been trafficked into the country or money has been laundered. So that is a broad picture. Then you have how the government has responded. And up until today, the government has been reacting to an April Fool's agenda that has been set by the Reverend Intim Fojo, which is very unfortunate. Once again, because our political culture is not to brief, is not to update, is not to inform. We keep things until we are forced, then we come and chip in something. But assuming that there is intelligence, I would wish, based on what I see in the media, you have a regional minister, or you have a minister of state, you have an IGP, or you have a police CID boss, you have the chief or the head of Narcotics Control Commission lined up before the press. The politician will issue a political statement. The police will come in with the criminal investigation aspects. The narcotics control will pitch in with the narcotic side. The Financial Intelligence Center or YOCO will come in with the money laundering side. We don't see that. So what is happening is that Reverend Tim Fojo is shaping the discourse, setting the agenda, and the government is now running after this hoax, which is very unfortunate. So the government must come in, and tell us what it is. When I say government, I don't mean the minister for communication or communications. That's what I'm talking about. The technical security and intelligence folks who have the intelligence must come out and diffuse or refute what Reverend Intim Fojo is parading as truths, which are not true. I've heard through the back door grapevine that the minority knows that there is no substance in what he's saying. But for political partisanship, they cannot own up and apologize and retract that maybe he misspoke or whatever it is. So others are saying that if he wants to play the business of the Honorable Ablakwa, then he must come with the evidence. And there's no evidence. Because drug trafficking and money laundering are not minor issues. They are serious national security issues. And anybody who claims that these things have happened and that they have threatened or undermined national security has a responsibility to prove. It is not the government that must prove that it doesn't exist. It is the Reverend Minister who must come and prove that this thing happened. Because he doesn't work at Kotuka. I don't work there. But if I take my phone and tell anybody that I have information that some material have been moved from Kotuka to Media General, I must be able to break it down. What types of material, in which vehicles, how many of them, how many people, to the best of the information that I got. We are not seeing any of those things. He's just throwing in generalities and eventually saying that it's a suspicion. You don't work with suspicions when it comes to, of course you can work with suspicions. But in this case, he's making a serious allegation and it must be beyond suspicion. Indeed, we must go back to his own words, that he's got intelligence, which is an abuse term. But intelligence means that information has been acquired, is being collated, is being analyzed, and the end result is what we call the intelligence. The substance of that information, that drugs have moved into this country. What drugs? Were they Panadol? Were they Tramadol? Were they ice? What exactly were they? He's not said any of those things. Now the state says that nothing like that has happened. And he's daring the state that is not true. Is that how we were taught to debate when we went to school?
Colonel, he was specific. He said cocaine. I mean, I think in the video I played, he said cocaine and money that had been laundered. So
if it's cocaine, the packaging, how they were contained or containerized, for instance, how many vehicles? Look, I've heard our good friend Hobson Adoye before narrating a similar incident about a very powerful West African citizen who used the gate reserved for the president and people at his level to drive through that gate with 2 vehicles loaded with a number of suitcases to an aircraft, private aircraft, parked, boarded. You see, even in that narrative, Hobson Adoye was able to give very substantive details. He had the car numbers, for instance. He had the number of suitcases, for instance. He had the timing, he had everything. You see, except that by the time he got there, the act had already happened and somebody under pressure had allowed the gentleman to board the aircraft and leave. Reverend Tim Forjo is not like that. He's a very powerful entity in our governance structure. He's got access more than you and I have. So why didn't he? In fact, the whole argument is, if somebody who is an MP, so-called shadow defense minister, has intelligence at the heart of national security, does that entity go to the media or it goes to the state? That is the question we must ask in Tim Forjo. Otherwise, he's not fit per the way and manner in which he approached this issue. He is not fit to call himself a shadow minister. But he's done more damage. And I've suggested to somebody that when the global surveys happen this year, 2025, Corruption Perception Index, based on perception, you see that Ghana is going to rank very low. Then the opposition will latch onto it that Ghana or the NDC administration indeed is corrupt. So that is the agenda the opposition is setting, to find ways and means of, painting the government black and by extension undermining the integrity of the state. And I think it's a very serious issue that at some stage it needs to be taken to account. Hiding behind constitutional provisions or whatever legal provisions, which again I don't agree with, got the principle of the rule of law. One of the principles or tenets is equality before the law. While we have crafted a certain arrangement where it is near impossible to arrest an MP. I could have been an MP. I mean, what's the difference between an MP and those of us who are not MPs? We know that empirically there are more sensible, more well-educated or better educated people on the streets than some of those in parliament. So when you get into parliament, it doesn't mean that you are the most sensible. That's not what it means. All that it means is that probably you use money, galamsey money or whatever, cocaine money, whatever, to buy the votes and get to parliament.
Well, not in all cases, not at least not in.
Well, the evidence
those exceptions
is there.
Yes,
there is no MP. There is no MP who can justify how they found the money. First of all, to compete in the primaries. Party primaries.
There are two. There's a former member of parliament and a member of parliament in the studio with me. They disagree. So as not to. Yes. So there's. That's why I said there are some exceptions because there's actually there's some research to that effect. There's some research to that effect that yes, but it's not. It's not all.
Just a moment.
Not all. Yes.
Alfred, the Honorable Apia Kubi. It's from the same area as Santiago.
Yes.
Abebakun essay Abeduasa.
No, that is not correct.
So it's not a question of whether.
No, you could have said that some of them, but
some of them,
yes,
who probably are the majority, have tainted the integrity of the political class. That's the argument I'm making.
Well, Colonel Festus, thank you. Yes, and you see, allegations of the Reverend Tim Fojo, they have flatly denied any knowledge of that landing permits of all aircraft entering Ghana are issued by the GCA in conjunction with the national security and not Ghana airports. Also, all security checks were conducted by aviation security and national security, while ground handling services were conducted by Swissport Company for the aircraft that arrived. They have also indicated point 3 and 4 that there was no evidence of any illegal substance on board both aircraft. The managing director does not know or has never spoken to Reverend Tim Fojo. I think that's not enough. We also have a press release from the Ghana Airports Company Limited. This is Ghana Civil Aviation Authority. The Ghana Airports Company Limited also issued a press statement, essentially denying this as well. So, Honorable Femiko, is that the case that this reference by Honorable Atachia, who is legal counsel to Reverend Tim Fojo, that the action of the NIB officials is a violation of Article 115 of the 1992 Constitution, which essentially gives members of Parliament some protection and privileges against arrest? Can that hold in this instance?
Thank you very much. Let me state for the records that my brother in Tim Fojo and I have engaged on this matter on Metro TV. And Good Morning Ghana. And I pointed nearly in similar ways that Kena Abuaji has espoused, and also some aspects of what my senior brother said. I told him that as the ranking member on the committee...
that you should have been engaged him in Parliament before you guys coming on TV.
No, I only got to know that we're being paneled together for the morning.
I see.
And I told him, I went through the protocols, that as the ranking member for the newly established or constituted Committee on Defense and Interior, you have very vast powers. And in addition to having vast powers, you are also, on your own terms, the elected representative of the people of Asin South. So you could demand for further information if indeed you had some intelligence, i.e., you could write to the agencies that have anything to do with the operations at the airport for some further and better particulars regarding the two aircrafts that you referenced. He didn't do that. He only went to town, and I told him that he only went to town to peddle propaganda and falsehood.
You think that's what it is?
That's what it is. And I told him that he peddled that through his pastoral teeth. He didn't like it. So no, I told him that I want
to... You're being personal.
Yes. So I told him that I want to admonish him. He wouldn't take it. Then I said, look, in 1 Corinthians 10:23, all things are permissible unto man to do, but the end thereof. So he being a pastor and a member of Parliament, we entered Parliament together. And I've always have high regard for him, but in this matter, he is drawing blanks. I told him that he's drawing blanks. Because here are the issues. When an aircraft takes off from any jurisdiction and enters our airspace, it's a matter of record. And it's a matter of national security. The aircraft has to be cleared before it lands on any tarmac in this jurisdiction. When it lands, the time it takes off. Because when an aircraft lands in our laws, the number of hours or the duration you spent on our tarmac, we charge you. There's a levy that you pay. So these are all documented. There's a document we called manifest. Manifest means whatever is contained in the aircraft before it lands, human beings, cargo, everything is indicated in the manifest. Before it takes off, another manifest is prepared. Whatever it's carrying, whatever it's taking off with it, is also indicated in the manifest. And the manifest is also filed. It's part of the ICAO, the International Civil Aviation Organization protocols that you must go through. Government responded to the propaganda and said, the things you are alleging never happened. Then you accuse government of the fact that government was gagging state agencies from speaking to the issue. Now state agencies have released statements discrediting the things you put out, discounting the things you put out, and saying and putting you to street proof. You say you won't listen. And please, the invocation of Article 115, 116, 117 of our Constitution is totally inapplicable. And let me demonstrate why. In Article 115, this is what the framers say. There shall be freedom of speech, debate, freedom of speech, debate, and proceedings in Parliament. And that freedom shall not be impeached or questioned in any court or place out of Parliament. Some scenarios have been given. First, Okanse, the expression of that freedom is only absolute during proceedings of Parliament, actually on the floor of Parliament. That is why it cannot be questioned. Then the comments must also be in respect of parliamentary proceedings. Now, when you go and hold a press conference, and put out what clearly, manifestly amounts to lies, and you invoke parliamentary proceedings, parliamentary immunity under Article 115, it won't save you.
That even that there shall be freedom of speech, debate, and proceedings in Parliament.
Hold on, listen to the language. There shall be freedom of speech, debate, and proceedings in Parliament. And that freedom shall not be impeached. Which freedom? The one you have in Parliament. It is not sacrosanct. When you go and commit a crime, you can't be invoking this provision. The law will deal with you, even though you are a member of Parliament. So that, for instance, when you are a member of Parliament and you embezzle funds belonging to Parliament, then you invoke freedom of speech, did debate in proceedings of Parliament? No. So this invocation that they continue to do in respect to Article 115 is totally inapplicable. Then they're also invoking Article 116. It says, subject to the provisions of this article, but without prejudice to the general effect of Article 115 of this Constitution, civil or criminal proceedings shall not be instituted against a member of Parliament in any court or place out of Parliament for any matter or a thing brought by him in or before Parliament by a petition, bill, motion, or otherwise. Now, the otherwise here, in respect of the matters is raising, could have been a question. As the ranking member, he could have filed a question directed at the Minister for National Interior, responsible for National Interior, for instance, or Defense, or Transport Minister who has an oversight over civil aviation, to come and respond to the issues he's raising. He didn't do any of that. So you are daring the state, and the state is asking that you should come and respond to complaints that you are raising, and you say that you should not be arrested. He will be arrested.
He will be arrested.
He will be arrested.
In under what condition and
you
circumstance?
See, let me tell you. Hold on. I just told you that this Constitution doesn't give a member of Parliament an absolute immunity against arrest. Indeed, if you listen to their press conference, they said that if you go through Speaker has laid down procedure that outside institutions can engage members of Parliament in matters such as this. All right? But even within last week, that procedure was invoked by the National Security in respect of the engagement they had with the Honorable Mustafa Yusuf and I believe my brother A+.
So Mustafa is not your brother.
Oh, Mustafa is my brother. Okay. So my brother Mustafa Yusuf.
Thank you for the correction.
So and my brother A+. So it's not as if this is not in effect, but that is in respect of very having regard to the laid down procedure. But when you are daring the security agencies they ask you for information, you provide information, and you continue to deceive public officers, it will be treated as crime qua crime.
What does that mean?
Crime qua crime is that when you commit a crime, that the security of agencies have a way of handling and investigating the crime.
Arrest is arrest.
Now, yes,
Arrest
is an option.
Else, but through
arrest. Hold on, arrest is an option. But let me also
what
advise.
Do you call that one? If it's not arrest,
it's an arrest. It's an attempted arrest, and I'm saying it's an option open to them, depending on your conduct. And let me also advise the security agencies that under the Criminal Procedure Act, they can actually issue criminal summons and have it served on him for him to come and answer for whatever whatever offense.
You know what that procedure means.
Yes, I know what that procedure. So it's not always necessary that you go after someone. And I thought that nobody should have gone after him. If we feel strongly about the things he has said as constituting deceit of public officers, we issue criminal proceedings, criminal summons, have it served on him for him to come and answer to the charges.
Well, I understand.
Abusuami do bibia asese wanyamre no abenya video ni bi nso ahwe na video no menka ne sa no so wa tino menje o mre kwa ye de nkomo ni besi mesra o pass o be staging for more updates open no view share comment section ho ne be beje na yakenkan ankopon hira no onyo kesi me da se bebe makra